Less than 24 hours, Georgians will be under a shelter-in-place order.
McDonald, though, said he did not know the man was handcuffed and was trying to use his foot to pin him to the ground so he could be handcuffed.
If your friends, neighbors, or local organizations are not complying, report them to us.
Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Free Georgia podcast. My name is Jake Green. Thank y'all so much for joining me today. Before we get started, head on over to lpgeorgia.com to learn more about what the Libertarian Party is doing around the state to spread freedom and liberty. There are all sorts of events. In fact, we have an event coming up next week that our guest today will be talking about. So without further ado, Miss Elizabeth Melton from Banish Big Brother. All right. Elizabeth Melton, welcome back to the Free Georgia podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Heck yeah. I host a weekly show called Liberty Libations with your co-host of the Banish Big Brother podcast, Zach Varnell. How are things going at Banish Big Brother right now?
Well, things are kind of heating up ever since the news that Trump was going to get Palantir on board to start creating a dossier on everyone. People seem to be more concerned about surveillance than ever. I know a lot of left-leaning people who I tried to talk to and get them to understand my concerns who just brushed it off. And now they are like, yeah, I'm interested now. I care now. So
and have you lost a lot of Republicans?
Well, I will say that I'm pleasantly surprised at the number of people who are like, no, we did not, this is not what we voted for.
Okay.
And yeah, so a lot of the people that would be his supporters are definitely questioning his motives here, if nothing else. And some are like downright condemning it.
Well, that's good, because that is definitely not something that you want to see. The government does a ton of things, but this just seems like massively expanding the Patriot Act, which was already an egregious violation of individual rights in the United States.
Right. And so I don't have a problem if they want to go in and gut the bureaucracy and reduce the federal government, then I certainly don't have any problem with that. But if they're going to just replace it with a technocracy, which is what seems to be happening, then we're worse off than we were before. I would rather to have an inefficient government than one that is efficient in oppressing us. So
exactly. That's such a funny way to put it. I'd want, like, the desired outcome is an inefficient government.
Well, yeah, it's like if you're going to be surveilled and monitored and tracked and oppressed, then it's better to have people who aren't doing it well. And yeah,
for sure. I love the project that you and Zach started. I guess it's been 2 or 3 years since that really launched, and since that point, I've pretty much de-Googled my whole life. Very much went privacy based on almost everything that I've all my electronics and everything in that regard. It's a long process to get to the point where you feel okay with privacy in your digital world. Can you just let people know, like, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. It is a long process, and it's a very detailed process, and it is actually just overwhelming, really. And so we have an event coming up next Wednesday, and it's called Reducing the Mosaic Effect. Mm-hmm. And so the Mosaic Effect, if you think about a mosaic and how it works. You have these little teeny pieces of tile that on their own don't mean anything. And when you put them all together, it creates this picture. And that's kind of how data works. So you go to a grocery store and you purchase a gallon of milk. That doesn't mean anything really. But if you take the data from everything you purchase and put it together, it can tell a lot about you. Well, that's just your purchases. Start marrying with that your browsing history, your phone calls, who you're texting, everything in your life. All of these things are being brought together. The license plate readers are keeping track of all your comings and goings. So unless you want to like move out to Slab City or something like that and just completely not use technology at all, you're going to create some data. You're going to have somewhat of a digital footprint. So to say that you're just going to be completely invisible is just not really practical at this point in time. But what you do need to do is try to reduce the amount of data that you produce. Keep as much of it private as you can. And there are ways to do that. So that is what we're looking at right now. And with Palantir, taking all of those different records that you create, like I said, all your license plate data, your all your purchases, your banking history, all of that stuff, that is what they're trying to do with all of this, is take every federal record that you have and put them all together so that they're no longer in silos. And that is very alarming and very troubling, because that information in the wrong hands, it is very dangerous. Yes. And not to mention that the more you know about someone, the more you can psychologically manipulate them. And this is an aspect of this that people don't understand, because I think a lot of people kind of get the feeling that we've been in a psyop for about the last 10 years, probably longer. It's just that we just now can like really feel it if things have just become so outrageous and over the top. Well, imagine what it's going to be when they can tailor the psyop to you, because they know how you think and how you feel. And that's what a lot of this coming together of information is going to do. Yeah.
And you're right. It does sometimes feel like we've been in a psyop for the last 10 years, and not everybody wakes up to that. And like what you're talking about is like, if the more information somebody gathers on you, the more they can manipulate you without you ever knowing it. That's the scary part. It's not that they're going to have all this stuff on you, so they're going to be able to kind of help influence you. They're going to be able to do things that you wouldn't even ever even recognize or notice.
Right.
And that, they already do that with advertising, with, cookies and all the little things that basically advertise exactly what you are thinking about or talking about at that time. And if you think about like people's excuses or reaction to that, to you having a conversation about pianos, and then all of a sudden you're getting advertisements about pianos. People's reaction to that is, well, they're just, that's helpful. Like if I want to go buy a piano, then I want to see some advertisements for pianos. Well, imagine somebody who doesn't have just basic consumerism at the heart of what they want to do to you, and they want to take away your rights or steer you in a certain direction or make you think this certain way about this certain election or this certain politician or, what have you. It can go down a really dark path.
Well, and maybe you don't care that they know that you're shopping for pianos, but maybe you do care that, I don't know, that you recently had a test for a sexually transmitted disease. Everybody, the people that say, oh, my life is an open book, I don't care, privacy is dead, I don't care what they know about me.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. There are some things that you care about and that you want to keep private. Everybody does. And it's part of being a free and autonomous human being to have privacy. And if we don't have that, then that's we have no rights. If you don't have privacy, you don't have rights. So, well, I mean, you have the rights. Obviously, we have rights. They're just not recognized.
Right. Exactly.
But Yuval Noah Harari, who is, he basically, while promoting AI taking over our lives, is also warning us about some of the things that happen. And he said that he's like, the AI is going to know you and better than you know yourself. And it's like if they know where you're looking when you are out and walking around. If you are subjected to facial recognition, there's eye tracking that tells where you're looking. So they know if you're looking at women or men, and they know, what advertisements you're looking at, and they can infer all kinds of things about you, the mood that you're in by the look on your face. And I remember in the documentary that I did, I included a headline in there from an article, and the title of the article is the AI that knows if you're happy or a threat. I'm like, okay, so if you're not happy, you're a threat. You're automatically, you're in a bad mood today, so you're a threat. Okay.
Yeah, it's very binary. That's not great.
Yeah. I mean, your dog died and you're a threat now because you're unhappy over that. It's the inferences that can be made from all of this. This is a path that we don't want to go down. And at this point, of course, at Banished Big Brother, we want to be able to do things legislatively to protect our rights, but we can't just rely on that happening. So we want to teach people as well. These are things personally in your life that you need to do to protect your privacy.
For sure. And you mentioned at the beginning of the show, it takes a long time and it takes some effort, and that's not the easiest thing to convince people to do, especially, everybody's busy all the time these days.
Right.
But just like doing one little thing will help. And over time that will grow, and it'll be like the first thing tell me if you would advise other people to do something different. But the first thing I would do is just get a VPN. Get a VPN on your phone, on your computer. It helps protect your identity. It helps protect your privacy, no matter what you're browsing. It's not the end all be all. It's not going to fix everything, but it is a good start.
Right. So one of the things that I'm going to be addressing in this presentation is that you have to determine how much trouble that you're going to go through to have privacy in your life. And it kind of bothers me personally that people don't care more about it, and they're not willing to be inconvenienced at all to create a private life. But if it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. So I get on people's last nerve because I don't use apps on my phone. And apps on your phone are one of the worst things in the world when it comes to your privacy. Well, I have an Android phone. I don't have a Google account attached to it. So I just use it for phone calls and pictures and texts. That's all. And so I don't use apps. So, I get lost sometimes. I have to map everything out. I'm sitting there looking at a road map. People think I'm crazy. Who does that? But okay, so you don't want to be that hardcore. You don't want to go without these kinds of sacrifices. That doesn't mean that there still is not things that you can do to reduce the clear picture, to make it a little bit fuzzier. And that is what we're trying to get through with this is, okay, you can be hardcore and go through a lot of trouble and a lot of special things for privacy, or you can just do these one or two things that are a little bit easier. But just moving in that direction of trying to preserve some of your privacy, that's what we want people to do.
Heck yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it is a never-ending fight to do so. So it's not something that's going to be for everybody. But Elizabeth and Zach have put together a pretty fantastic program and fantastic website, ideas, podcast, all the above to help with whatever like you are willing or able to do. And I highly recommend checking out the podcast. It's a phenomenal show. I love it.
Thank you.
And it's one of the ones that I listen to every, like the second it comes out, it's downloaded and I'm listening to it. So anybody out there, if you like this show, that's a show you should subscribe to on Spotify, Apple, all the podcast platforms. Y'all been active on X recently. You said you had a video on there, right? That you wanted to play on the show.
We put a short together recently, RFK, and he was testifying, and he made an announcement about how, which is kind of funny because they're supposed to be like cutting back on things, but he's bragging about how much money he's going to spend on this new program that they have.
Gotcha. Well, the tweet says, collection of biometrics that you do not directly control is a threat to your privacy. Is this really a good idea? Be wary of attempts to collect your data. And here's RFK. Where's he testifying in this?
He's testifying to Congress.
Here we go.
We're about to launch one of the biggest advertising campaigns in HHS history to encourage Americans to use wearables. We think that wearables are a key to the MAHA agenda, making America healthy again. And we are going to, my vision is that every American is wearing a wearable within 4 years.
Just imagine North Korea in 20 years when everybody has to wear a biometric bracelet which constantly monitors your blood pressure, your heart rate, your brain activity, 24 hours a day. You listen to a speech on the radio by the great leader, and they know what you actually feel. You can clap your hands and smile, but if you're angry, they know you'll be in the gulag tomorrow morning.
We're about to launch one of the biggest.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, that's not ideal. Also, my biggest thing with the thing that immediately stuck out to me with that one is I have not seen any conclusive science that says that wearing something that monitors your vitals 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year is good for you. It's sending impulses into your skin, into your wrist, wherever you're wearing it, into your chest. I'd be interested if actually wearing one of those all the time forever is contradictory to the MAHA movement. That's the first thing that
I have no idea as far as like, well, we know that like cell phone radiation is a bad thing. I know years ago there was this trend where women were carrying their cell phones in their bra, and there was this huge increase in breast cancer, which was all located right there where people were carrying their cell phones. Yep. So we do know that there's radiation and things like that. I don't know the answer to that question, if ultimately that could be a problem. those are the kinds of things we tend to figure out years later after the fact. But it's what gets me is, for one thing, there are options. You could say, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to send the information to the cloud. I'm just going to make it where I can look at it. Okay, if you feel like you really have to have this bracelet and you have to be monitoring your vital signs at all times, you can monitor it, keep the information local, and don't send it to a cloud so that other people can access it.
There you go.
Whether with permission or by a breach or, whatever.
Yeah.
But ultimately, so I have a friend who's, I think she just turned 70. And she's in really good shape. She bikes a lot and canoes and everything. And we were talking about this, and she's like, well, I've got to have my bracelet because otherwise, how am I going to monitor my heart rate and all this other stuff? And I'm like, you're 70 years old. How have you done this your whole life? This hasn't been around forever. It comes out just a few years ago. And now all of a sudden you don't know how to act without it. Yeah. But what it all comes down to is it's just very convenient. And if at the end of the day, you decide, I want to throw my privacy away with both hands for this convenience, that's ultimately up to you. And, Godspeed. I wish you well in that. But at least know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. At least read that terms of service. Know what they're doing with your data. And so at the end of this presentation, and this is one of the things that I'm going to address. Here are some hardcore solutions. Here are some solutions that are a little bit more relaxed if you don't want to go through all of this trouble. And, if you just don't give a damn, well, okay. But at least at the end of it, you'll know what you're giving away to a certain extent, because there's so much of this that we cannot possibly cover it all in an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. And to your point about like the convenience of the wearable, it is extremely convenient. It gives you data that you wouldn't normally get. But what I've found also is that once you're just used to something, it's hard to go back. And so, in your case, you were talking about you use maps rather than a GPS. If you tried to get the younger generation right now to use maps rather than GPS, that ain't going to happen. Like that is such a huge hurdle to get over. And so it's same goes with government. Like once a regulatory body or law is in place, it's extremely difficult to get it out, to remove it. And so once you implement something into your life and it becomes integral to how you are currently living, it's going to be extremely difficult and sometimes painful to take that out of your life.
Well, that is one of the things that Whitney Webb talks about a lot. It's like this has a lot more to do with your privacy. It's not just that. You are also limiting your cognitive abilities.
Yeah.
So, and it's hard. It's hard to go back, but you can. And I am reading a lot where Gen Z is kind of choosing to do a lot of things analog. And they're having these, there was this group of teenagers in New York. They're calling it the Luddite Club, I think, where they get together once a week at a park and nobody brings their cell phone and they just sit around and talk and read and such as that. But, and, I know that things like Chat GPT and all those things are controversial. Some people love it and some people hate it. And I'm not going to weigh in on that one way or another. But at the end of the day, you need to know how to write without it. So if you're going to use it, I think it's better to do it in a way where you don't lose all of your cognitive abilities, because there are the little neurons and so forth in your brain, all those connections, you lose them if you don't do certain things. Now, my son is in Alaska for the season up there working, and he drove across Canada to get there. And I bought him a road map, a road atlas, and I'm like, you're not going to be in the middle of the Yukon and lose cell service and not know where you're going. And thanks goodness he played a lot of RuneScape as a kid, so he does have some map skills. I think he'll do okay.
Great. That's awesome. I like that, the idea of that Luddite club. I've seen some like camps popping up as well, where kids will go to these I forget what they're called, like kind of detox camps, where they don't have their phone or any screen for like 2 weeks, and then they come back and they don't really have as much interest in getting back on their phone because it was felt so good to get off of it.
Well, and we cannot ignore the fact that this is chemically altering your brain, that everything is designed to increase dopamine and keep you looking at the phone, because that's how they make money. Yeah. And it is essentially an addiction for a lot of people. It's the same thing, it's no different than pulling that arm on a slot machine or sitting there at the blackjack table. It is addictive.
Yeah.
And it can be for some people. Some people are able to put it down. But again, it goes back to awareness and being aware of what these things are doing. And at the end of the day, it's not up to me to lecture people on their cell phone usage and stuff like that. But at least I want people to know. I want them to know what they're giving away. This whole attitude of, well, there are different attitudes. One is, oh, well, it's for our safety. Again, how is it that we have more crime, but yet a few years ago we didn't have these a flock camera on every corner?
Right.
Is this really increasing the safety? I don't think so. But also just the defeatist attitude that privacy is dead. There's nothing we can do about it. It just lay down and take it. And I hope we can change that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that attitude. Well, Elizabeth, we're coming up on 30 minutes. Are there any other things you would like us to chat about before we leave?
Well, I just would welcome everyone to sign up for the privacy course, the Reducing the Mosaic Effect. This is sponsored by the Libertarian Party of Georgia. And it's a free event. Of course, if this is an issue that's really important to you and you would like to help us do more things like that, donations are welcome, and we do have donation tickets. So, awesome. Wednesday, we'd love to see everyone there.
Heck yeah. Wednesday, July 23rd. Let's see, what would that be? 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Sorry, I'm on the West Coast right now, so it's coming up as Pacific. Highly recommend. I would highly recommend anybody go check out that event and learn more about privacy basing your life, because there's a lot you can do, and some of it is super simple. Some of it is way more in depth, and Zach and Elizabeth are phenomenal at showing people how it's done. So also head on over to their website, everybody, banishedbigbrother.com. Awesome website. Got a lot of great stuff. You can take action in your state, and you can just learn a whole lot about what's going on with the surveillance state these days. Is there anything else that people can find on your website, Elizabeth?
Well, the I did a documentary on the smart city technology, and that is on the Gray Matter Project. That can be found on Substack
Nice.
under the Gray Matter Project. And yeah.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. All right, y'all. Well, Elizabeth, thank you again. I like I said at the beginning of the show, I love this topic and I love what y'all are doing with it because it's something that I think needs to be done. And I hope that y'all continue to have success in it because I think it's important.
Well, thank you. And thanks for having me on.
Heck yeah. All right, y'all. Go check out lpgeorgia.com, banishedfreebrother.com, the Gray Matter Project on Substack. And we'll see you next time on the Free Georgia Podcast. Peace.